Good morning, everyone. We'll just wait one moment as everybody enters into the webinar space. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience this morning as we took a few extra minutes to get started today. We're so honored and so humbled that you are joining us today for this webinar session. Our session today is hearing from aunties and grandmothers' experiences supporting Indigenous families through the perinatal period. So thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started, I want to hand it over to our lovely elders to get us started off in a good way. So Elder Dr. Roberta Price, Elder Glyda Morgan, if I can please hand it over to you now.
Haichka Siamsiaya. It's so beautiful to be here this morning with everyone in a virtual circle. I'm just going to pass the cedar boughs over to Elder Glyda to start us off in a good and respectful way, and she'll pass it back to Elder Roberta. Thank you so much, Elder Glyda. OCM, OCM.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our beautiful virtual seminar. And I would like to begin by honoring the sacred land that I'm upon. And I would like to acknowledge the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh for allowing us to have our beautiful virtual circle on their unceded territories. And I just give so much thanks for that. And I'm Elder Glyda Morgan from the Sla'amin Nation, my mother's people. And my father is Hemalco Church House, relocated from Butte Inlet to Campbell River. And I have a great grandmother in Kwakwakula territories, Cape Mudge. I'm a mother of 2 adult children, 45, 2 girls, and 39, and 1 grandson who's 30, and a great grandson who's a cute 8 years old. And I just want to begin by saying this is such a special day as we begin our journey on the topic of this discussion, and I just appreciate being able to open, and I just want to give blessings to each and every one of you, and I'm asking the Creator to shine light upon each of you through these difficult times. And my heart is with you and the many that are experiencing what they are experiencing today. Creator, I'm asking humbly for blessings for each and every one of your families, and for you, and for all the ones that are experiencing the floods, the COVID, and also the opioid crisis. And just raising my hands to all of the frontline workers and all the essential workers and the doctors and nurses and all of you that are here today. And I want to also pray for all of our animals, the 4-leggeds, the 2-leggeds, the ones that swim, the ones that crawl, and the ones that fly. And I'm just honored again to be here this morning. So OCM, blessings to you all, and over to you, Dr. Elder Roberta. OCM, thank you.
OCM, thank you for your warm blessings and your warm welcome, dear Sister Elder Glyda. So I will share a thank you and a welcome as well. Haichka Siamsiaya. Greetings and welcome, everyone. As co-Salish matriarch and elder, I wish to give a very warm thank you to all my relatives on the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh for welcoming me to live in the unceded lands of my relatives, Musqueam, here in Richmond for 41 years now. As co-Salish matriarch and elder, I wish to give each and every one a very warm welcome who live, work, and play, give and receive service on our unceded, ancestral, and occupied lands of my relatives, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh. Always honoring and following in the footsteps and the teachings of my beautiful mentor elders, Elder Vince Stogan from Musqueam, Elder Bob George from the Tsleil-Waututh, and their teachings around always sharing a blessing and a prayer when we come together. So joining my sister, Elder Glida, I'll share a blessing for this time together. Thank you for listening. Haichka, Haichka Osiam, Osiam. We give you many, many thanks, Creator, for bringing us all together in this very wide virtual circle here today. We ask, Creator, that you bless our minds, our hearts, our bodies, our spirits. So when we think our thoughts, they are good, positive, and respectful. When we speak our words, they are good, positive, and respectful. We call upon you, Creator, to bless the people who prepare the food, bless the food and drink we put in to nourish our bodies on our journeys to wellness and strength. And we give you kind thanks each and every day, Creator, for your special blessings of protection you bring down upon all the beautiful people who are working so very hard during this pandemic, for all illnesses, for the safe delivery of our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and especially for the ongoing opioid crisis. Continue to bless and protect them and their families, Creator. We ask for special blessings of protection and healing and comfort down upon all our beautiful relatives right across Turtle Island who have reopened wounds and are grieving all over again over the media releases of the last year. Please bring peace and comfort down upon all our relatives, Creator. And we ask for special blessings down upon all our beautiful people who are experiencing the floods, down upon all of their families, all of their animals. Bless and protect them in this journey, Creator. And we kindly and respectfully ask you, Creator, to wrap each and every one of us and all of our loved ones in your warmest blanket of protection as we all journey through this part of the journey of our lives together. Help us each to keep safe in our travels, both near and far, Creator. We always give you many, many thanks, Creator, as we ask you to bring all of your blessings down upon all the ones that are hurting, all the ones that are grieving, all the ones that are hungry, all the ones without homes, and especially, Creator, all the ones that are hurting, all the ones that are Haichka, Haichka Osiam, Osiam. Thank you so much, everyone. And I pass those sacred cedar boughs over to you now, Miranda. Osiam, Osiam.
Thank you so much, Elder Dr. Roberta Price, Elder Glida Morgan. Thank you so much for your beautiful words and for helping us to open off this conversation in this virtual space today in such a beautiful way. I want to thank everyone for showing up today and joining this circle. My name's Miranda Kelly. My ancestral name is Tilyen. I'm Stalo, a member of Sawali First Nation, and I also have family ties to Cowichan, Sumas, and Snuneymuxw First Nations, all on my dad's side, and mixed Russian, Scottish, and Welsh ancestry on my mom's side. And I'm a very honored, privileged, and humbled guest and relative on the lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. I'm the Director of Indigenous Women and Family Health with Vancouver Coastal Health Aboriginal Health Team. And it's a real honor and privilege for my team to be hosting this session today. We're so glad you're able to join. We welcome all of you to introduce yourselves in the chat space today. Introduce yourself in whatever way feels comfortable for you, your role, where you're calling in from. And we also have a Q&A function, so feel free to post your questions in there throughout the session. We'll be hosting this webinar today in very much an informal roundtable conversation with our 4 beautiful panelists. So there'll be opportunities throughout for us to try to address the questions that you have. With that, I want to pass it over to Nicole to introduce yourself and to introduce the beautiful vision you had for our session today, Nicole.
Hadi Sabuzi, Nicole Cardinal Hesley, Si Stella Satsahanya, Snachalya, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and D. Yunkit, Jan Session. Masi. Hello, my name is Nicole Cardinal. I am in Wet'suwet'en, and I come from the Stellatan First Nation. from BC. And if you don't know where Stellatin is, or it's actually Stelaco is where I come from, it's an hour and a half west of Prince George. It's a small town. If you blink, you'll miss it. But I've had the wonderful privilege and been blessed to live in the Lower Mainland for over 30 years. I call myself an East Van survivor, which I am. I would like to acknowledge that. And yeah, let me just tell you, I am from the Lexiliu clan. I have two beautiful daughters that follow in my footsteps. I consider myself to be a matriarch in training. And my background is Indigenous community planning, and I am with Aboriginal Health, and I'm the Aboriginal Health Strategic Lead for the Office of Indigenous Women and Families. Done. Okay. Last time I forgot to introduce myself, so there we go. Fun part's over. And today I just wanted to share, so the reason why I wanted to have an Aunties and a Grandmothers webinar is because a lot of the work and a lot of the behind the scenes, we owe many thanks to our aunties and our grandmothers, the real true activists for our health from day one. Since the day we're born, aunties and grandmothers have embraced our whole community and our family. And I think it was Mary St. Clair that said aunties are the other moms. Was that in the last week's webinar? And I thought, yeah, there are other moms, and that's what we step up to do. So this was the vision of hosting the aunties and the grandmothers, and my role in the Perinatal Substance Use Project is really trying to elevate those voices of the aunties and the grandmothers who have been doing this work. And I just wanted to talk really briefly about how important aunties and grandmothers are in our Indigenous communities. So like I mentioned earlier in my introduction, I have been in Vancouver for 30 years. I've been placed here. My mom wanted a better life for us, and we got on a bus at the Greyhound and walked off the bus with 2 garbage bags, and that's how I landed in East Van. And over my time here in East Van, being removed from my community, looking for community of my own, I found the Indigenous community back then in the 90s, and it was a different kind of vibe than what it is now. And it was organic. You know, your friends would take you to their house, and then you'd meet their family, and then you become their family. And that's what happened with a particular family here. So today I would like to honor an auntie who has done so much for the Vancouver community. I would like to offer a moment of silence for Auntie Lillian Howard today. We had her service last week, and Auntie Lillian Howard has done many, many things over the course of her lifetime, but she fought hard for our urban Indigenous folks. And you know, I was fortunate enough to sit with her on the UIPAC, the Urban Indigenous Peoples Advisory for the City of Vancouver, and she was co-chair. This would have been her 10th year. So I just would like to give space today to honor and thank Auntie Lillian Howard for all the work she has given and contributed over her lifetime for our community. Natalia, thank you. Please keep her family in your prayers, and in Vancouver urban community. We're all really trying to figure out what this looks like navigating. And then it talks about the importance, and it highlights the importance of for the aunties and our grandmothers, the roles that they play. So today is that conversation to build around the framework of why they're so special. Thank you for giving me that space. I'm going to pass it over to Miranda. Natalia.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for holding that space for that moment of acknowledgement of Lillian Howard and of all the beautiful work that aunties and grandmothers do in our communities in service to families and in service to Indigenous women and babies, parents, birthers. And so I'd love to now continue on with the circle of introductions to ask all of our wonderful panelists who've made space today to join us, to ask you to please introduce yourself in the way that feels comfortable to you, and to offer us, a bit of background or story or understanding of what's called you to this work that you do to support Indigenous families in that perinatal journey. So perhaps we can start with our beautiful elders and then go to Marie and then Lisa.
Thank you, and good morning again, everyone. And the purpose of having this work is so important, and I just feel that what has drawn me to work in this particular area is wanting to have doors opening for our Indigenous women and all women, but Indigenous women, because of everything that's been happening. And I have experienced a lot of darkness in my life in regard to services. And so when I was younger, I decided to get a bit of Western education, and I did have education that life has provided for me in my journey. And putting those two together, I feel really called to I feel really called to be able to do this work, and my heart is in the right place, and do the best I can, thinking of many different roads to travel to get to the place of what needs to be done. And so my heart is just there, and this work just is so vitally important, and I'm just so grateful to have an opportunity to stand beside strong Indigenous women, strong Indigenous leaders and elders, to be able to be a part of this circle. And I think it's so important that we stand together and stand strong, and just holding each other up. And yes, we need to form that strong sisterhood. And I just appreciate the aunties and the elders, and they're so important. And I am auntie to many and elder to many. And so OCM, I just appreciate it. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Elder Roberta.
OCM, thank you, dear Sister Elder Greta and everyone. And I just want to thank you, Nicole, for the moment of silence and honoring your auntie and Indigenous sister Lillian Howard. And a message to all of you who are present and listening is that let's not wait till they're gone. Let's not wait till they're gone to give that honor and thanks. Let's do it in their lifetime. Reach out to them. Reach out to them that are doing the hard work on the front lines. Reach out to them, say, how can I help you? How can I help you? This is the honor that and the time we need to share it and give it. So thank you for listening to us, and very, very devoted to this work of, as Dr. Brittany Bingham have said for a long, long time, who is our director of research, has said that it's time that we need to amplify the voices of Indigenous women and girls, daughters and granddaughters and mothers. So I'm very, very honored and pleased to be a part of this work going forward, and to know that we are not alone as we're going into all of those places where women are having those experiences, and some of those experiences aren't great. So raising my hands up in thanks and honor to Vancouver Coastal Health, to Nicole and Miranda for hosting this very, very important work. OCM, OCM, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Shall I pass it over, Miranda? And I think, Maria, you're probably in Vancouver, are you? Or Lisa, always honoring the person who travels the furthest. So maybe Maria will pass it up to Lisa in her home territory, and we'll have you share, and then to Maria. OCM, OCM.
Thank you, Roberta. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Talio. My traditional name is Kaklis. And I always have little jokes about how inauthentic my traditional name sounds, or not inauthentic, so close to my non-traditional name. But yes, again, good morning, Lisa. Traditional name, Kaklis. I am from the Nihilk and Heiltsuk Nations, and I also have kin in Kitasoo, Heihe, and El Gacho as well. I am Aboriginal Health Central Coast Strategic Lead. Really fancy title to just say I care about the Central Coast, and I want to understand what the health disparities are for these Indigenous First Nations communities in that area. And I just wanted to share the interest for this perinatal care started for me in my previous role with the Wilcott Nation as their manager of what other communities have as healthy beginnings. So I managed the nation's pregnancy outreach and family and early childhood development center. And I was doing my master's at Royal Roads. I have a Master of Arts in Human Security and Peace Building. And this will start to get into what might be the next few questions. So I'll stop there. And thank you so much for inviting me. My interest here came from all the great work like Marie and Nicole and Roberta and Glida and Miranda are doing here, and bringing a unique perspective of rural and remote and isolated communities that include many Indigenous communities. So again, I'm sure I'll get to share more shortly. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Good morning. I am Marie Wilcott. I am, like Nicole said, an East Van survivor. I am born and raised here. My mother is German and Swedish, and my father is from the Kwanlundan First Nation, we are a self-governing First Nation up in Yukon Whitehorse. I've been doing this field of work for over 20 years. My education I got to was Aboriginal Infant Development Consultant, supported child development consultant. I built my career on the downtown east side at Crabtree Corner /UA, Crabtree Corner YWCA. And so as I was studying, I felt that my passion, of course, is to support Aboriginal children and their families, people. Aboriginal families are a unique family system. So I am an auntie, sometimes even a stepmom to babies that are born, and I have daughters that aren't mine. And so I enjoy that. I'm honored when I'm part of those sort of family systems. And I too was a single mom. I had my first daughter at 19, Lakota. Her father, she's Cree, and then half of me from White Bear in Saskatchewan. And so I struggled, and I made my way. And it was the few people that came into my life that believed in me, that were non-Indigenous, Indigenous, that were like, you can do this, you can do this. And my mom is a community home support worker. So I think I've kind of picked up that piece, sort of seeing her, and then I just have it in me to support families. So I've worn tons of different hats. I love grassroots programs. And so I'm honored to be here and honored to be part of this panel. And yeah, that's a little bit about me for now. I have 4 children. So 26 Lakota, Sierra, who is 19, who is now studying at Douglas College to be a social worker doing Indigenous studies, very proud of her. And then I have two little boys that are 3 and 4, Lucas and Nicholas, and they are Colombian, French, Native, and then German and Swedish on me. Crazy woman I am, but I wanted a son and Creator gave me 2, blessed me with 2. So here I am. Thank you.
Oh, just blessed, Marie. That's awesome. Not 1, but 2.
Not
Anyway,
1, but 2.
Creator has a way of taking care of us. That's why they say, be careful what you ask for. Anyway,
That's right.
you're an amazing mom. Thank you for that. Wow. Like, what a circle of powerful aunties and grandmothers. First, just let me thank you for accepting this offer. You know, as a clan member, I speak a lot about being of service. And this is something that moves me in my work and my position. Since I was a little girl, I've been trained to be of service. And that's what I see in all of you. And that's what you possess. Like, that's what moves you every day. I've had conversations with each and every single one of you. And it just, it's amazing the amount of work the 4 of you have done. And we don't have all the time to talk about all that work, but we can highlight some of the things that you might have experienced or seen in your work while supporting Indigenous families. This conversation is really important to have because what we're talking about is the perinatal substance use project. And so we're talking about Indigenous birthers who may use substances and their accounts, their experiences, and what you have seen, what you have heard, what you've gone through supporting these Indigenous birthers firsthand. So we want to change the way, you know, we can change the way things are done. There are ways to decolonize slowly. Some ways that you like, we'll talk about it later, but kind of like the boot work, like the anti-boot work that you do, the grandmother boot work that you do. You know, if we can't get in this way, we're going to go around that way. You know, what I see is the aunties and the grandmothers don't stop. I'm pretty sure Elder Dr. Roberta Price phone doesn't stop ringing at 5 o'clock. I'm pretty sure your phone doesn't stop ringing at 5 o'clock, Marie, right? Same with you, Lisa. Our families need support all the time. We're not a Monday to Friday kind of people. And like you said, we're born with this. This is a natural instinct for us to do, to be of service. Kind of like, I won't get into it now, but like, I want to be helping others right now who are stranded and who need food. I want to go to Chilliwack. Like there's this purpose. Like I can't show up to an Indigenous gathering and sit there. I get in there and I start helping, even if it's not my gathering. It's bad. It's really bad. But let's talk about those things. So my next question is, what are some of the key issues and impacts pregnant people may encounter on their perinatal journey if they use substances? So, you know, I'm going to start off with the elders again, and then we'll go back to Lisa and Marie for the answers. And if you don't have a particular answer at this question, that's fine to say, just let us know and we can move on to the next question, because sometimes it takes a lot to drum up some stuff, and some stuff is really personal. Like, this is not an easy topic. So please take your time. We have the time to do that today.
Over to you. Thank you.
I think that a lot of women and Indigenous women that are pregnant and using substances, and the stigmas that they face are just being judged. And anywhere you go, you walk into any service and they're judged, and there's so much judgment that people have, and not enough caring for our women, for our life givers. And I do think that we need more services for our young mothers that are using substances, and more education for all of the services that are caring for our young mothers or anyone using substances. And I think a big fear is apprehension at birth, or somewhere along the line when the ministry gets involved. And that's another challenge that we're facing. And I could go more into that, but I'm just going to say that for now, with MCFD and a lot of the stigma that our life givers are facing when they're carrying their babies. And we need to have more understanding and education for all, especially the doctors, nurses, and MCFD, and changing policies, decolonizing. I'll stop there. OCM, thank you. Over to you, Dr. Elder Roberta.
OCM, thank you, Elder Glida. And what I witness out there, you know, just have to start off, it's all about racism. It's all about legislative policy. And, you know, just to give an example of the violence against women in Turtle Island is in opening and participating in a conference a few weeks ago, and one of the doctors presented out that legislative policy of the violence against women, presented the policy that BC and Alberta had between taking away our ability to give children. So forced sterilization, forced abortion, and then sterilization. It was written by both those governments, and who knows how many governments across Turtle Island. So that was legislative policy about violence against women and genocide of our people in our ability to give birth. And what I witness every single day is that racism, that because they go on policy and they go, oh, well, we got to hand it over to our directors, and it's the directors that are making these decisions. And I would just want to say, bring those directors to this table. Bring those directors to this table and make them say it out loud, because they're just using excuses, and they're using documents to judge the mothers, using a policy-led documents on parental assessment and ability to take care of their baby. When, you know, and they use history. They use history about what happened 10, 15, 30, 40 years ago, what happened. They're using this against our mothers today. And we have to sit there and we have to do everything that they ask, or face the removal of our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. It is going on in real time today as we speak. It's going on right now, and this has to stop. And even with those now into legislation for protection, they're still clinging on to that policy and all of those paper documents as hard as they can, while they can try to get away with it, even though we're forcing it into legislation for protection of our women and our babies. It is so, and all I have to say makes that clinging on really hard and strong is racism. And I just, I will never, ever, ever stop standing in front of our women and babies, beside our women and babies, along with my sister, Elder Glida, and behind our women and our babies. And as Elder Doris Fox and Musqueam always teaches, we lift up each other. And that's what Elder Glida and I do every single day. OCM, thank you.
Is that me again? Sorry, okay. I really counted on the depth of wealth of my peers here, because the unique perspective I want to provide is the remote and isolated community. So I'm glad I got to go after these ladies, because they're so powerful. And the part I always leave out in regards to personal credibility is I'm also a mother. I am a mother of 3. My son will be 27 next week. My daughter is 23, and my youngest is 13. and I have 3 grandchildren, 5, 4, and almost 2. And so that is also what motivates and inspires me to be part of this conversation. So to add to what Glyda and Roberta had shared, I think unique to Indigenous women in these isolated communities, on top of the racism and discrimination and stigmatism around substance use, my experience is the topography or the location of these isolated communities in the research were often compared to, let's say, Mission, BC. You know, so in the research, they'll compare Bella Coola to Mission, BC. And we all know that there's no way that the experiences of women are the same if you're comparing Mission and Bella Coola. So that was unique to the research I had done. The medicalization of birthing, the loss of culture and ceremony around this. And these women have to go to what we're called referral communities, but it really just means the closest urban settings around these isolated communities to deliver, and they go 4 weeks to 3 months, depending on the risk of delivery. There's a lot of call, there's a lot of need for a harm reduction approach to this work. Indigenous women do not want to work with hyper-professional health workers. They want to connect to aunties and grandmothers and their peers to understand what is the impact. And I'll give you one example of cannabis use. What is the impact of cannabis use? And rather than go to their nurses and their physicians, and sometimes even their, as Marie mentioned, infant development workers or family support workers, rather than go to these people to understand the impact of substance use during pregnancy. And I come from a harm reduction approach. I do not judge people who have a right to choose, and my approach is always to keep myself in check and acknowledge that it's only my role to provide information. And so I know from my experience in servicing Indigenous women that they want this information from their peers, which tells me part of the work or most of the work is always building capacity. It's enabling these mothers to be family support workers, to be infant development program workers. You know, and that what I always remember fondly from my education background is that we learn 93% of what we teach. And that's what we need for our families, for our caregivers, for our birthers. They need to be teachers. That's how they learn. And I'm always curious how in all our programming, in all our activities, and in all our interventions, how can we enable our mothers to be the teachers? Because that is the way we learn. This was a passion, not only as I managed this pregnancy outreach, but also in the research I did in my master's program. So I can go on forever and ever and ever. And so I just wanted to add that little part, and I'll pass it over to you, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to speak to what all the ladies are saying. Yes, it's huge discrimination, racism, whether we are pregnant or not pregnant, using or not using, we face this on a daily activity interaction to all of us who are Indigenous. So then when we have a young mom that is using, which I've had, you know, in the last couple of years that I've been here, I find that I'm meeting mom where mom is at. Of course, I'm non-judgmental. And we know that an Indigenous face to another Indigenous face works. Research shows it. We have AIDP now, where And like Lisa said, we want to encourage these young moms who are doing this and breathing this and then learning from us that they can also become these helpers in the community. I believe in harm reduction. I've had ups and downs in my own life, and people know, especially Indigenous people, whether we get it or we don't. And we usually get it. So it may not be personal to us. It may be the family member, it may be my daughter, but that's how I know that I can build rapport, I can build trust. And then it also gives me the opportunity to be that young lady's voice. When you're using and you're pregnant and you know you're already being judged, a lot of the time I've heard, well, why is she having a baby? Or why is she doing this? And we all know we don't have enough qualified trauma counselors to be to support each one of us Indigenous people in Turtle Island. We do need that. So their voice is very small. It's very low. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm advocating and I'm walking beside her, I'm not walking in front of her, I'm not walking behind her, I am walking beside her. And when I'm noticing that, hey, this person who may be a doctor or she may be the nursing clerk that isn't aware of their language that's being used, we are aware of it. We are very aware of it. We are listening. We are paying attention to body language, eye contact, and we know when somebody is not for us or somebody's judging us, and you don't have to say a word. So these young ladies who are now pregnant and using, I'm assuming, and I've seen it, feel so low and feel just probably even questioning themselves. Why am I doing this? I don't know why, but I want baby, and babies are a gift from Creator. I mean, this is it. So in my work, because I've done AIDP and I have sort of, I guess, like a wealth of knowledge, experience. Sometimes using my own personal story helps a little bit. We all know as caregivers, as professionals, doctors, nurses, when to kind of use that and when not to. So, and sharing just personal stories of something gives these young ladies or older ladies, I was older when I had my last two, that sort of trust to say, you know what, I think it's okay that I let Marie know that, you know, I'm smoking an eighth a day, or, you know, I'm smoking a gram of cocaine a day or every other day. And you know what, I feel okay. And that's where we start to get in as aunties, as grandmothers, to say, okay, hey, how about we go here? You know, I'm tagging along at doctor's appointments. One lady I was working with was not heavily, but using a lot of crystal meth. So I would walk around with her while she was in psychosis. And I walked behind her because she didn't want me in front of her. She goes, okay. I encouraged her to eat a banana. I encouraged her to sort of very hard. I think this was one of my most challenging sort of moments in my career that I had to sort of, but I was there with her, and I was there with her where she wanted me to be. And I think at one point she even told me, like, just like, fuck off, like, leave me alone. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep walking a little bit behind here. She goes, I just want to sit down. I don't want to walk anymore with you. Okay, like, you walk, I'll just, you know, but I still stayed with her as much as she told me, like, go away, Marie. You know, I'm sure her thoughts are all over the place. She was sleeping in Strathcona Park. She came out with boots that, I mean, her feet were full of sores. She's small. I'll never forget her. And so I sat there with her, and I got her to get into sort of like Shiwei, and I got her to get to her appointments, and I got to listen to her, you know, her baby's heartbeat. And I kind of just was like, maybe like the auntie that she didn't have. She had nobody here. She had no family. She came out of the foster care system and whatnot. So I find that I meet my ladies where they are at. Again, structures and policies and all of these things that we know aren't working for our families should be changed. I don't know why. I mean, now we're talking about it. I'm hoping that they do get changed. And I think about my band, sort of Kwanlindan, as a self-governing First Nations. They have that leadership and that priority to intertwine the traditional protocols and culture and teachings to make our village and our governance uniquely to us, to serve us. And I find as an urban Kwalindun beneficiary citizen that I'm not looked at down here. So I think that's another thing that we also have to put into consideration is, you know, who is here in Vancouver that is from the Yukon, that is from Bella Coola, that is from Mission, that is from Saskatchewan, because I feel forgotten about at times in my life. So I can't imagine when these young ladies or ladies that are walking, using, pregnant, lost, hurt, traumatized, I just got goosebumps because it's like, oh my goodness, how they feel. And it just takes those certain people. And if I look at me, I have maybe a handful of ladies that walk that life that I once walked, that said to me, hey, Marie, you got this. And if I'm that one person in that lady's life, then, you know, then I've done my work. I'm okay. And if this lady keeps coming to see me every 2 weeks, okay, I'm happy now too. And if I'm able to get this lady to eat a banana in front of me today, as high as she is, good, Marie, good, right? So it's, I like to say, yes, I have to follow guidelines and I have structure in my job and this and that, but also for my Indigenous families, I'm not always following that. I'm making sure that I'm not doing anything wrong, but we are, like I said, unique families. We're blended in many ways. So yeah, I'm very flexible. I like to say I'm flexible when I'm doing my, in my profession, my career. So thank you.
Man, you all got me fired up. I'm ready to like throw fists in the air. And you know what? You can't see it, but I wore my jean jacket today to honor all the aunties who have done the work before me. Woo! I'm seriously fired up. I can't even begin to tell you this. I'm shaking, but yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And I wanted to touch that. So what I hear you all saying is you're bringing our Indigenous birthers, our pregnant people to where they need to get help. They're dealing with discrimination, racism policy. They're dealing with judgment, a hyperactive healthcare worker. Is that what you were saying? You know, somebody who is just, and they just kind of want to slow things down. They feel more comfortable with aunties and grandmothers and being, you know, and you're meeting them where they're at. It's hard to talk about substance use if you're pregnant because of our views as being life givers. And for those who don't identify as that, we're going to call them pregnant people. Not everybody who is pregnant identifies as a woman. And so there's those issues that we need to talk about, gender, you know, identity, and not everybody wants to be a mom too. It's not a blessing for everybody. So we have to meet them where they're at, wherever they're at on this journey. But Marie, I really wanted you to, you know, you touched on something that Elder Roberta brought up too, because we're talking about families being separated because of past histories and MCFD. And what I'm seeing here from all of you is you're all family preservation workers. It's built in our DNA. We are our own, we had our own child welfare system in place before colonialism. Every nation did. It doesn't matter where you came from. I know we have it. My mom talks about it because my grandmother did it. And we did things in the language back then was the Indian way. We took our babies if somebody couldn't care for those babies. And I think about my time when I was going through SCARP and learning from Morgan Guerin. We were fortunate enough to go spend a day once a month, a full day in Musqueam to learn about community planning. And he said nobody was homeless. Nobody was hungry. Nobody was left behind because the system was already designed that way. So that's why you do what you do. But I really wanted to touch really lastly on this point was we're off reserve members. And you are right, there's a lot of gaps. And that's what Lisa's talking about. When we have to send you know, births away from communities that aren't able to have birthing there, like what supports are in the city or communities. Like I would have support if I lived in Prince George because I'm part of the Carrier-Sakani Family Services or the Tribal Council. But honestly, I've been on my own in East Van for 30 years and that's where I'm building these relationships and that's what I'm seeing. So what I see in the downtown East Side and in Vancouver in general is that Indigenous folks always come together to help each other, support each other. So when I was talking to Marie, I learned what she was doing, and I called that boot work, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then I looked around the organizations that, you know, wraparound services at the powwow. I was like, wait a minute, I know somebody at every single table. And I realized we are the ones doing the lifting and the carrying and managing to do it within these systems that still, you know, aren't working for us, but you find a way, like you said, not illegally, not illegally, but you make it work. I'm sure Elder Roberta, Glida, and Lisa all do it. We have to, because at the end of the day, it's people, right? It's about the people. So thank you for bringing that up. And, you know, we shouldn't have to talk about the reasoning behind all these things. But when we're talking about this population and the birthers and the pregnant people, we're talking about a lot of different situations. We have colonial trauma, inherited colonial trauma. We have a residential school, you know, intergenerational, I'm an intergenerational survivor. We also have the ministry, children coming out of care. We also have MMIW. Some of these folks don't have their parents or their aunties anymore. Like, they're all so closely linked that people don't realize it's literally within it, right? So anyways, I just wanted to add commentary. Miranda, do you have anything to add? Because that moved me. I'm sorry, I had to like get excited about all that.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, wow, that just everything all of you shared is so powerful. And I was just scribbling notes because everything you're saying is so, so important. And you were reminding me of words that Elder Doris Fox has shared in some of our previous conversations about letting her be the hero of her own story. And I think that's so important what you were saying, Marie, that we're not there to walk in front of someone. We're not there to make decisions for them, to judge them, to shame them, to tell them what to do. As aunties, as grandmothers, as relatives, we can walk beside. And what you're saying about harm reduction, I think, is so important. You know, that having an auntie beside you is harm reduction. Having someone to remind you to eat a banana is harm reduction. So, you know, I don't think that's how our health system often conceptualizes what harm reduction is. But what you're saying is, yes, that is harm reduction, to have grandmothers and aunties there walking beside. I wanted to share just some of the comments that are coming in through the Q&A and the chat. Kristen Wade writes, thank you to all of you for the work you do. As a nurse at Shiwe, I feel that the access to cultural services is one of the biggest gaps we have in providing holistic care to our women and families. Thank you all for the support you have given to so many of our families. And I also wanted to share one of the comments from Carly Stewart. Writes, it takes only one person to make us feel seen and heard. When we are so alone here with no family, homeless, pregnant, using substances. Thank you for sharing, Marie. So yeah, I'm hearing what all of you are doing is making people feel seen and heard, and that is harm reduction. And I'm wondering if any of you want to speak to the comment around the lack of culture, the lack of access to culture, cultural programming, and cultural services.
One thing that I kept seeing in the research, and this wasn't exclusively like just research, this is also dealing with qualitative and narrative like research. And Cornelsen has done a lot of work in remote and isolated communities. But the one thing that I kept reading in the research was, when we're sending out Indigenous birthers to have their babies, they lose all access to their family. You know, and if they're lucky, well, a lot of the referral communities, the way the selection occurs is if they happen to have family. So for Belakula, it's Williams Lake, Prince George, or Vancouver. Those are their options for birthing. but there was a lot of information around the experience because of that evacuation for delivery. And one of them being, historically speaking, culturally speaking, midwifery existed in our community, but because of the medicalization of birthing, now like that cultural knowledge, those knowledge keepers are almost all gone. And a lot of the research said that there's almost no culture or ceremony existing when these mothers, because typically they're also limited to one person that can bring with them, and that's usually the partner. And I'm not even talking about the stressors, the lack of finances, the disconnection from community, having to leave behind older children, with other loved ones, like high risk pregnancies, even if there's any awareness for the health systems that substance use has existed within this, within care, often these mothers leave the community and none of that history leaves with them. None of those narratives go with them. They come out to these urban settings, and and the physicians and nurses and that they're working with may not even know them. And I am aware there's a lot of program and services now. I'm aware that there were great provincial efforts made to develop and train doulas and midwives here in the city. And so there's a lot of that, but I just wanted to express like just the experience of these isolated communities and Indigenous birthers coming out to the city and have nothing. Like I've seen birthers like fundraise for the entire 10 months they're pregnant, just so that they can afford to come out here and deliver their babies and come out to hospitals where nobody knows them, nobody cares about them. There's no emphasis of connection or there's no support in attachment. There's no support in breastfeeding, post-delivery, and provided mom's health and baby's health is fine, they're sent back home in a week. And in that week, if there hasn't been support in breastfeeding, most mothers are transitioning right to formula just because there's so many gaps in services. And then again, not even to mention, what are the true impacts if these mothers have also been using substances. And I find in these isolated communities, because of the mistrust and fear of systems like MCFD, we know that birth alerts don't exist anymore, but we also question that. I think they just renamed it and they're doing it in different ways. There's so much fear and mistrust that these birthers are not even getting the support they need.
I wanted to speak a little bit about the cultural piece too. I just have a bunch of things firing off in my mind, and I'm feeling the same way Nicole is feeling, and the rest of you ladies, very empowered and glad to be having these conversations. But speaking of culture and attending my first AGA for Kwantlen First Nation, I had no idea what my band was doing up there, how they're making great money, they're doing this, they're doing that. But I also sit on another panel of an Indigenous book club where I got to hear the caregivers who are non-Indigenous, who are taking care of Indigenous children, when they're tapping into their bands, certain bands are now providing language classes. I mean, Zoom has changed the world, changed teaching, changed communication for us all. So I have to say, in a good way, I mean, COVID, please go away, but what a great teaching tool and what a great way to reach everybody. So I think every band, every First Nation needs to take their own initiative, practices, protocols, Zoom groups, this and that, to start reaching out to the urban citizens beneficiaries that are sitting here in Vancouver and other destinations. As well, my band in particular is looking, I mean, my band and then the chiefs in Yukon is now looking to build, which I wrote a paper, I ended up talking to my chief after this big AGM because I was just blown away by what we're doing. And I want to be so part of anything I can being down here, but is now looking at possibly doing their own healing lodge. So I wrote a paper on an Aboriginal homestead because when my people, and same with everybody else that's rural, come here, you know, they're put in a hotel, they're given taxi vouchers to go to and from the hospital, and they may have that one person or they may not. So Yukon chiefs are looking to look at a healing lodge so that when you know my people are set down here, that they aren't put in the hotel rooms and that they do have a support worker there, that they do have somebody to go to the hospital with them. And so that they're not feeling that loss of culture, community, family. And so I think that was totally magnificent that we're now looking at that and just leads the way for, I think, everybody else who is, you know, knows your chief or knows your council to start having those conversations on how do we support our families that we now are our moms who are going to have babies down in Vancouver or Williams Lake. You know, like I'd like to be a satellite counselor if I could, you know, so many ways to change it. And yeah, happy to have this conversation. Thanks.
Elder Roberta.
I just want to share the journey that I've been on in the past decade and how things have changed. In the beginning, when they created those positions for the, in order for the elders to go in to the hospitals, they would only call me when someone is making their journey to the spirit world. And then as things started to hopefully go forward a little bit, they started to call me at an earlier time. And I really feel this has changed the circumstances of the person that is in the hospital, and that there were more lives saved because us elders were able to go in at an earlier time. So that's one positive change. But the feeling about, I think, like I said, they're still clinging to policy and paper-led ways. And with the policy and paper-led ways is that whoever is in power and control is still thinking that we are of low intelligence. We are not worthy to be listened to, and that I appreciate each one of you that have spoken about the peer-led, because, you know, as my older brother shared, only the people who've gone through the experience can truly comfort the people who are going through it today. So that is very, very important. And then that is not what is viewed. Unless you come through the school of academia, you're not worth anything. Your voice is not asked to give any input or speak. And so we have to undo it at the top. It is all the ministries within this government of BC and all the governments right across all over Turtle Island, and to change it at the top. And we need more of our people within those top levels for them to acknowledge that we have a right to be at the table. We have a right to share our experiences, and we have a right to have a say in our people's health, our people's ability to keep our children within our families and communities. Like in the past, if somebody was not well, we just take those children under our wings and we feed them, we care for them, we love them. Exactly. And this was viewed as, oh no, moving way towards individual as opposed to community. Like many times we hear that it takes a community to raise a child. That's what we did in the past, and that was viewed as the incoming government and policy as very, very wrong, according to them. And this is why they continue in real time today to take away our babies from our moms because they sit in judgment of them. And even when they have gotten on to their healing journey in recovery, they're said, oh, no, 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 we have to witness this for a longer period of time. So we need to keep that, putting that baby into a non-Indigenous home. And the mom is supposed to stay on her recovery journey when she's not able to be with that baby. The bond is broken. This needs to change. And it's all about racism, all about policy. I want to hold my hands up in honor to all the non-Indigenous sisters and brothers who actually believe and honor Indigenous ways of knowing, who actually witness these acts of racism every single day and not knowing what to do, where to turn and how, but they do care about us. It's important for healing to happen in this province, in this country, in Turtle Island, for non-Indigenous and Indigenous people, and in safer times, to hold hands and go forward together. It takes all of us working together to do this. It takes all of us working together to stand up against policy-driven papers and the belief that those papers and the predecessors, the teachers, are the ones in authority on the knowledge of our children and families that continue to separate our moms and babes and dads, families and babes. Every time I speak to Nicole, I don't have a jean jacket on, but I have to take my sweater off because I just get up there and get all heated up. So OCM, OCM, OCM.
Thank you, Dr. Elder Roberta. I hear you, and I have a jean jacket, but I'm not wearing it. Thank you. I just want to echo what you're saying, and it's so very vitally important. And for all of you, Marie, Lisa, Roberta, and all that have spoken, Nicole, Miranda, and I just respectfully want to raise my hands too to the grandparents who are taking their grandchildren in and caring for the child. And again, it comes to policies of fighting for your grandchild, and it just makes me really upset, because you have to fight for your grandchild, and they would rather have the child in a stranger's home and pay them the dollars. And if the grandparent is raising that child, it's hardly any dollars, and it just makes me so upset. I know scenarios of grandparents having so much financial, not enough financial support, and just having to struggle with the basic needs of the child. And then if you're sent away, of course, you're given, the family in care is given all kinds of dollars to support that child. And it just makes me so angry and upset. And I just wonder how much education the foster families have around Indigenous babies. And I mean, our women, our life givers that are having their babies and wanting to raise them, and then having so much barriers, so much paperwork, so many questions asked, A to Z. Can you do this, this, and this, all on a shoestring budget? We want you to be successful. We want to hold the families together, but they make the bar so high, and it just makes me, it just makes me ill about having to witness that. And they don't even look at their own history. The ministry, MCFD, they don't look at their own history. they look at the history of our life givers. Oh, you haven't done this, this, and this. We want that. And what about the history of MCFD and all of what they have done? So that's why I'm a strong believer on having our policies changed and being able to have our children with grandparents or aunties or family. I know it's leaning more towards that and it's happening, but not enough. And I do think that there's a little snapshot of bringing ceremony into the hospitals, which I think is so important. And the Welcome to the World ceremonies for babies here in Vancouver, and I'm sure provincially. Anyway, I better stop there. I'm noticing somebody's banging the clock on my head. No, just kidding.
No, I'm not, Elder Glida. You know I love you. We're on Creators Time.
Just kidding.
Anyways, me and my sassy jean jacket, I'm gonna ask the last question.
Okay,
We're getting
okay.
close to time. I want to leave a few minutes if we can. I mean, okay, so as a planner, we do a little game in the room, and it's like hot potato, but we're gonna do it the way in the order that we have it. So kind of maybe fast and fierce. I know this is not going to be enough time for you to answer this question, but I want you to say what you need to say. What do you need from healthcare providers in supporting Indigenous birthers who use substances? Take it away.
Elder Glida.
Financial support. Financial support, we all need to have the dollars to make things happen, and they're always holding the purse strings too strongly, and they don't offer what is there. It's a big secret. They're holding that. And I just find that they need to offer what's available for the women. One thing, I'll just mention that one thing, and I know there's more, but I need them to let go and just to offer our families, our women, what is there, because it's just like they're acting like it's their money, and we need it for our women and families. That's only one thing, so I'll stop there.
Well, see, I'm always honoring all our beautiful elders. What they need to do is, as my beautiful sister and brother elders, Elder Eric Mitchell and Elder Chris Marchand, when we shared Indigenous cultural safety training and humility in the interior health. Elder Eric always shares, you need to do your work. You need to do your work. It is not our history. It is not your history. It's our history together. And if you have problems, if you're stuck on where to start, Elder Eric, with a chuckle, always shares. Grandpa Google is a very, very good friend. You could start off with finding out who are the first peoples of the territory in which you were born. If you were born here in Canada, who are the first peoples of the territory in which you work on? If you go from one area to the next, start on that journey. Start on that journey. So everybody needs to do their own work. Do their own work. Help us here. Not depend and wear out Indigenous people to do the work for you. To do your work, find out the history and find out where it is. I just missed, pardon me, and just before I throw the hot potato over to Lisa, I just want to honor and hold my hands up in thanks and honor to UBC Midwifery and welcoming Evelyn George Harney to share in Indigenous cultural safety and training and humility and education, welcoming me and Elder Glida and other elders in those sessions with the midwives, that opening other than the door. Is literally, as many of you shared, we've been doing this since time immemorial, so that doesn't even count the thousands and thousands of years we've been doing this work. OCM, throwing the hot potato to you, Lisa. OCM.
I feel the pressure of time, but I also heard Nick's generous, take the time you need So pardon me if some of these points sound disconnected. I just wanted to make sure I added to the wealth of knowledge. I heard Glyda say finances, but in these isolated communities, housing is a great need. And there's our homelessness looks like overcrowded homes in these isolated communities. You know, nobody's sleeping out in the cold, but there, I know of homes in Bella Coola, like 3-bedroom homes with 19 people in it, including babies, and like 4 to 5 generations in a home. So I just wanted to add that part, and I'm sure everybody else will have more. And for me, you know, I can't emphasize enough, like a trauma-informed approach, be you Indigenous or non-Indigenous, like there are so many frontline workers just eager to do this work, but the reality is that we face burnout. We face challenges in retaining. You know, we think about finances for these birthers. What about the finances for our AIDP workers? What about the finances of our infant development workers and family support workers? You know, what about those salary and wages and benefits of those people? You know, almost considered or identified as paraprofessional, you know, so there's a lot that exists within this health system that doesn't apply to this culture. And for me, the other one I really wanted to get, so developing our people, creating more Indigenous professionals. You know, I've heard this over and over and over again today, but when practices work well, it is because they are not constrained by jurisdiction or rules or laws. They are sustainable with secure funding and are community owned and community driven. All levels of government need to work to support us in these common goals and the partnerships we need to support perinatal women, and especially if they're using substances. Again, I can go on, and I'm just so appreciative of the wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a few things in my head, but first off, I wanted to say that we are the experts of our own body, of our own health, of where we are at. A lot of the time, I will find that my clients who are using what they want isn't taken into consideration, because either, oh, you're too high, or you don't know, and I'm the doctor and I'm the nurse, but we do know. And so always kind of have that in the forefront of whatever she's asking for. Maybe she doesn't want to be on those antidepressants. Maybe it's too much, but yes, you might think that she needs it. Well, we are the experts. But just like we're the experts of our children, when we're taking our children to AIDP, speech, we know probably before the doctor says anything. So the other thing I wanted to say, I don't have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I like to say I have a master's degree in life. So also when you're seeing a support worker or an AIDP consultant or a tenant relation at her housing, that when we're speaking to you and we're saying, hey, and we're coming together and wrapping ourselves around her, that we are telling the truth, that she's probably sharing more with me than she is with you. And to really take what we're saying into consideration as to what's going to help her, I find. I think that's just one thing. I could go on too. So thank you for the opportunity as well. Thanks.
Wow. Just wow. Thank you so much to all of you. Wow, what incredible insights and wisdom and powerful stories all of you shared. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's attended today. Thank you for all of your questions and comments. And I'm sorry if we weren't able to get to all of your questions and comments. As you can see, we have a lot to say on this topic. We're all very passionate about it. Marie, we'll get to you. And then after Marie's comment, I would love to ask Elder Roberta and Elder Glyda if you want to close our circle today.
I just wanted to say one more thing because I forgot about it. Usually as Indigenous families, I'd like to work with the whole family. It's not some, even though I'm just supposed to be there for mom, there might be the boyfriend that's out there. And VCH here, we're allowed to work with dad and mom, which is fantastic. And I've always been flexible to work with that entire family that's in that household because they're a unit. And so to be open like that is very important for our families. I forgot to say that. Thanks.
Thanks, Marie. Yeah, so this session is recorded today. We will be posting the recording along with the recordings of our past webinars are available on our YouTube channel. And we will be planning another session for February in the new year. So check us out for that. We'll try to advertise that ahead of time so everyone has a chance to register. And thank you again, all of you so much. And if I could please hand it over now to our elders to kindly close our circle today.
Ocean.
I just want to also say, hold my hands up in honor and thanks to one of our beautiful sister elders, Elder Doris Fox. I know she's with us here, and hold my hands up to her long, long lifetime of supporting families and supporting moms and supporting everybody in the good work that she does. I hold my hands up in honor and thanks. And I just will give honor and thanks to each and every one of you for your open hearts and your open voices. I call upon our Creator and ancestors to continue to cover us in the warmest blanket of protection as we all continue on this journey towards making those much, much needed changes. And hopefully the top will listen and do that. So Haichka, Osiam, and it would be so lovely, Elder Glida, if you could sing one of your beautiful songs. Osiam.
Ocean, Dr. Elder Roberta, you sneaky pie, you. Just kidding. I just want to say thank you to everyone, and all of what you brought forward today on the panel is so relevant and true. And I know we can talk more, and we're moving forward. We are moving forward, and we're going to get where we're going. And because of all of you, because of all of the people here on the panel, raise my hands in giving thanks to Elder Doris Fox for her teachings. She's amazing, and I just love her so much. And for Miranda and Nicole for hosting and inviting us to be here today. And thank you to Vancouver Coastal Health. And it's been quite the journey to get here, as I heard shared being young mothers. I remember being a young mother at 17, and the tough times that we had. And I remember I was a single mom, and at that time they wouldn't allow, the policy stated they would not give income assistance to me at that time. That was many years ago. So we've come a long way, and I'm so honored to stand here with you all and standing strong and being able to fight for our life givers and bringing light to all of them. So I'd like to close with this song, From My Heart to Yours. And we never did finish this song, but I'm going to sing this song. And one group of women at Chiwe had said, oh, I want this word to be sung. And so I said, okay, let's do it. And so this was their word, and we put it into a song. Away, 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 yeah. Away, yeah. Away, 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 yeah, away, yeah, away, 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 yeah, away, yeah. That word meant a lot to them at that time. And so today it brings to my heart the memories of that circle that wanted to do that song. So I'm sharing a piece of that with you and sending you all love and having a beautiful day and taking gentle care of yourself. And of course, we will all do the same. And, and that's so vitally important again. So love to you all. OCM, emote squagon. Thank you.
Natalia, thank you.
OCM.